Good evening. Thank you for joining me with Sunday's news. The first sitting of the new parliament is expected to be on Wednesday, the 2nd of August. While a gazettal notice has surfaced with this date, it is yet to be confirmed by the Governor-General's office.
After the People's National Congress was invited to form government on Friday, party leader Peter O'Neill said on Your Vote 2017 that the first sitting of the new parliament will be on this Wednesday, August 2nd.
The Governor-General that from the request from the outgoing speaker was written asking our advice when should be the date that is going to be the appropriate time for us to form government and have a sitting of parliament. We've advised that we'll do it on Wednesday, which is on the 2nd of August. This is quite an important date as well, because it is almost exactly the same day when we elected the Speaker and the Prime Minister in the previous election. So that concludes the 5-year term completely. So we thought that it was appropriate to do it on that time. It is within the 7 days, not rolled out all the way up to Friday, which is the expiration of the 7 days after the return of writs. But we believe that this is the right timing to do so.
Since then, an unsigned gazettal notice has surfaced and has also come to the notice of the Ombudsman Commission. However, this gazettal is yet to be confirmed if it was released by the Governor-General. The Ombudsman Commission has filed a Supreme Court reference on the extension of the return of writs. They have also obtained an interim court order for the extension to go until tomorrow, 2 p.m.
Of the writs, a second gazettal notice was issued for Parliament to meet on the 2nd of August, that is Wednesday. As to the validity of that, or as to whether that was computed correctly from the 28th or from tomorrow, the orders that we obtained does not address that question. But it can be some comfort to note that it has to be within 7 days. So you can say that's within the 7 days. So we are not discussing that question at this point in time.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
United Party leader and re-elected member for Wapenamanda Rimbeng Pato will remain a part of the PNC-led coalition. Pato is confident PNC has proven to deliver and will continue to do so to the people of this nation when it forms the 10th government. United Party is now the 4th PNC coalition, including the People's Progress Party, United Resource Party and the Social Democratic Party.
Pato arrived to his jubilant supporters. The Wapenamanda people residing in Port Moresby welcomed him home from his victory as the re-elected member. Addressing them, Pato appealed for peace and for people to remain steadfast.
And we're all going to work together, so our doors as always will now be open to make sure, and of course the Paulinas in particular, they just deliver the numbers.
This year's national election was the toughest in his political career, and the commitments to continue, like investments on education. As party leader for the United Party, Pato has already formed a position to remain a coalition to the People's National Congress Party. He says the past is past and the future is the future.
So we've started a lot of work together, and I want to continue. If it's the present government that we must continue, then I've had a very important position there, so I will continue with them. If the other group has the numbers and we have to make a move, then obviously we'll look at it, but I am committed to being in government.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
Counting for Nipa Kutubu in Southern Highlands Province is into its final elimination. After exclusion 16, votes for independent candidate Robin Peep are being distributed among PNG parties Philemon Embol and National Alliance Jeffrey Komal. This is the final elimination and a declaration is expected soon. Nipa Kutubu after elimination 16, leading is Philemon Embol with 29,677. Running second is Jeffrey Komal with 28,020, and running third is Robin Pip with 24,198. We take a look at the last counting results. Jawaka Regional after count 42, leading is Dr. William Tongap with 36,475. Running second is Simon Kaiwi with 28,628. And running third is Thomas Kennedy with 23,653. Jawaka Regional counting has been suspended and will resume soon. Kagwa Erave after elimination 27. Leading is Joel Raitano with 13,736. Running second is Wesley Raminai with 12,851. And running third is Mina Pano with 10,957. Looking at the number of seats declared so far, 98 seats have been declared around the country. The number for PNC now stands at 26. National Alliance has 13. Pangu has 10, PPP now has 5 members declared, URP has 5 declared, PNG Party with 5, The Party and SDP with 3, PNG Party and PNG National Party both have 2 members respectively, and the rest of the other parties 1 each and 11 independents. In the Medang Regional after count 90, leading is James Yali with 45,974. Running second is Jerry Singrock with 42,207, and running third is Peter Yama with 35,555. You're watching National EMTV News. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Supporters of candidates in Kundiawa have clashed at the Dixon Oval, where counting for Kundiawa, Gamburg and Simbu Regional is currently taking place. A source has told EMTV News that 3 supporters of a candidate are dead, with several houses and vehicles near the counting venue set alight. Kundiawa Gamburg resumed counting on Thursday after it was suspended for 3 days following a court order filed by sitting MP Tobias Kulang to halt counting. The clash started at 7 this morning and police were able to calm the situation this afternoon. A group of Eastern Highlands regional candidates have aired their concern over the conduct of elections in the province. They have put forward a list of recommendations for the incoming government to address as the first order of business. Counting for the Eastern Highlands regional is still in elimination stages.
We need to look at the electoral commissioners' responsibilities and powers. Right now, we see that there is no clear demarcation as to when the electoral commissioner can say, these are the criteria I will use to fail an election. I think some of this can come true, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with him, and so whatever he feels, with the information he has, he can say, yes, I failed the election, no. From the indications we are getting so far, the Electoral Commission office would like everything to go fast and just be processed and have somebody declared, and then you can take it to court. Their job is done.
A research fellow at a PNG think tank says laws must be changed for politicians to be only legislators and not responsible for the country's purse. Dr. Thomas Webster states the government system must change to give effect to the service delivery powers to provincial governments, while central powers are focused on check and balance. On the same note, Autonomous Bougainville Government President Chief John Mommis earlier echoed similar sentiments that the public service mechanism should be the only delivery arm of the government.
The National Research Institute has been looking into the Papua New Guinea elections in the past and this year. It has found that more is at stake for the candidate, the political party, the people, and major businesses operating in the country.
They have access to, they make decisions, they have control over these funds. people and individuals and companies and business people, they know that. And so we're now sort of coming to say, how do we now get access to that public purse? And we're doing everything we can to do that. Individuals say, this is how I'm going to be a millionaire. Business associates say, this is how I'm going to make money out of the government system. Communities know that if they elect a person from their area, they will get access to funds to build the roads, to build the classrooms, to build the health centers and so on. So the stakes are very high because these members of parliament make those decisions about allocation of the public funds.
NRI fellow research Dr. Thomas Webster says whoever comes into power has control over large sums of money, and this needs to change because winning a seat in parliament has become lucrative. Often service delivery is used as a law for votes. Dr. Webster says it's quite different.
So we should also, apart from strengthening and improving the electoral system, look at the governance system, where the members of parliament are in control and manage huge amounts of money. In my view, I think we need to go back to the provincial government system that we had before. Let the provincial governments, like the premiers that were elected, let them be responsible of delivering basic services, looking after the roads, looking after the health centers, schools and so on in the provinces. Let the national members of parliament focus on national issues, looking at accountability mechanisms, strengthening the office of the Auditor General and the Public Accounts Committee, and making sure that people are spending the money in the right way and making sure that the results are coming.
A Papua New Guinean politician has the powers to make laws and control public funds. Essentially, the politician is in control of decisions that should, in essence, be decentralized to the provincial governments. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
The Ombudsman Commission says the Supreme Court reference they took out is to help the Electoral Commission. Speaking at a media conference this afternoon, Chief Ombudsman Michael Dick says it is not their intention to interfere with another constitutional office, but to help where they saw was necessary.
The Supreme Court in 2002 restricted that particular power of the Electoral Commission by saying that yes, you have power to extend, but it will be only once and no more than once. So the Supreme Court decision plus this particular constitutional law, Section 177, which has tied the hands of the Electoral Commissioner, and it was a situation where these 30 seats that are pending, their future has been in the dilemma that whether or not they will be making it. So that brought the Ombudsman Commission to come in, because the Constitution, Section 19, gives powers to Ombudsman Commission to come in when there is charged gray area.
So Ombudsman Commission had to assist by seeking that order, challenging the laws that limits it, using the Constitution to obtain an extension, which we have.
So that's a question that we're asking in the reference. If he was to get a second extension, on what legal basis would that be allowed for? Some people are saying Section 80 and 81 of the organic law, and we are saying that he has exercised it on the basis of Section 177. So that presents a legal issue, because the Supreme Court in 2002 said that Section 177 only provides for one extension. And Section 177 says that it applies notwithstanding any other provisions in the organic law. So would the further extension be legitimate? And we say that the interim orders that has been given provide comfort to the Electoral Commissioner that writs that are being returned within this period have the benefit of being protected by a court order.
We'll take a look at the current standing of political parties again. 98 seats have been declared around the country. The number for PNC now stands at 26, National Alliance has 13, Pangu has 10, PPP now has 5 members declared, URP has 5 declared, PNG Party with 5, the Party and SDP with 3, PNG Party and National Party both have 2 members respectively, and the rest of the other parties 1 each and 11 independents. You're watching National EMTV News. We have more stories when we return. Welcome back, and now to stories making headlines overseas. Security has been tightened at all Australia airports, and travellers have been warned to expect delays after police foiled an airplane terror attack. Police describe this as an Islamic-inspired terror plot to smuggle a homemade bomb onto a plane.
To cover himself with a towel as he's escorted from an inner-city Sydney suburb by counter-terrorism police. This man was just one of 4 people arrested following intelligence of a terror plot to bring down an aeroplane.
We think that this was credible and that there was an intention and there was quite possibly a capability as well. We believe it is Islamic-inspired terrorism.
Specific details about the plot haven't been released, but Australia's Prime Minister has called it an elaborate conspiracy.
And additional security measures were put in place at Sydney Airport on Thursday.
Australian Federal Police made their arrests after carrying out 5 raids across Sydney. They say they found material of great interest, and it's reported they discovered items that could be used to make a homemade bomb. But no charges have yet been laid.
We have certain powers available to us that we can detain these individuals while we continue our investigation.
And while that continues, the Australian government says travellers should be prepared for delays and additional scrutiny at airport screening points.
SMP security were over there and they were opening bags, and that was slowing down the traffic obviously because they're concerned. And the queues were massive in economy, massive.
The advice for now for those travelling through Australian airports: arrive 2 hours before domestic flights, 3 hours before international, and if possible, limit carry-on and checked baggage.
In Syria, civil war has robbed countless people of everything from their life to their livelihoods. But despite unimaginable challenges, one Syrian is refusing to allow the war to take something from this, his dream. 3 simple words are giving him all the courage he needs, as CNN reports.
Dance or die. For Ahmed Judah, these words are a promise to himself and a challenge to his enemies. Ballet dancer, not Syrian refugee or stateless Palestinian, is his true identity.
I felt when I danced for the first time, this is who I am. And as I was born as a refugee in a camp all my life, being annoyed. Now the whole world called me the dancer.
Growing up in Damascus, few supported Jawda's passion. He says his father even beat him for it and eventually left the family. Jawda continued his ballet education. He quickly became a rising star, competing on the Arab version of So You Think You Can Dance. But his success made him a target. In 2015, ISIS stormed his neighborhood. They threatened Jawda, telling him dancing was punishable by death. Jawda inked his own message of defiance on the back of his neck, permanently.
I did my tattoo on my neck, dance or die, because if they wanted to cut my head, I want them to see this as the last thing they can see, dance or die.
Family members were killed, his home destroyed, but Jawda remained unbowed, dancing on rooftops and even on the ancient ruins of Palmyra, where the terror group had once beheaded innocents. Last year, the Dutch National Ballet sponsored Jawda to come study and live in Amsterdam. He's safe and thriving now. He recently performed in front of the Eiffel Tower. But his mind is never at ease.
When I think of my family, it's hard to breathe, especially while I'm dancing. I was doing the repetition, and in a certain point, my country and my family, they came to my mind, and I couldn't even move, and I couldn't breathe.
Jawda's journey has changed at least one mind, his dad's, now a refugee in Germany.
I was visiting him in Berlin.
Just 5 days ago?
Yeah. and he was dancing in his house.
The 27-year-old believes ballet can and will warm dark hearts and open closed minds.
It gives me the proof that I can change the whole world if I'm really believing in myself.
Venezuela is hours away from a vote that could further undermine the country's democracy. Voters will choose members of the new assembly that will rewrite the constitution. The opposition says the assembly will get the president's unlimited powers and essentially turn him to a dictator. There have been violent clashes leading up to the votes. Opposition leaders are calling for more protests despite a ban on demonstrations. The United States is threatening to take strong economic actions if the vote carries 4. Meanwhile, millions of Venezuelans are caught in between violence and a brutal economic crisis.
This is a snapshot of everyday life here now. Defiant protesters hurl homemade Molotov cocktails at authorities in the middle of the street. But now, look beyond the chaos and look there, right there, and you see how Venezuelans are caught in the crossfire. This auto repair shop has seen it all. Vandalized, robbed, a grenade fell on a car. Joel Escalante, the security guard, says protesters beat him and cut his head open, believing he was spying for the government. All I want to do is work, and they hurt me, he says. If I don't work, what do I bring home? The employees here are less than 50 feet away from scenes like this. Through all the street combat, they try to carry on with their work. It's a portrait that details survival and resilience.
One of the things that is so disarming when you're covering these street protests here in Caracas is that you have all of these confrontations on the street, and yet people are getting on with their everyday lives. That includes going to church. As you can see there, those are people who are just leaving a church service.
The endless confrontations can pop up anywhere, and they're just another thing to contend with. But this woman tells us not to mistake Venezuelans' survival instinct for resignation.
I continue here in Venezuela because I love my country. It's, for me, the best country. Here, humanity.
Humanity, she says. Even on the front lines, there's still plenty of it to be found here.
In the United States, and John Kelly will take over as the new White House Chief of Staff, and his military experience might influence the West Wing of the White House.
Friends describe John Kelly as plain-spoken, mission-oriented, a leader, basically the consummate Marine. But perhaps more importantly, President Trump likes and respects Kelly, and it appears the feeling is mutual.
It was another major announcement made over Twitter.
We're following breaking news. President Trump just announcing a new White House Chief of Staff.
The president tapping Homeland Security Secretary General John Kelly to replace Reince Priebus as his new Chief of Staff. Kelly, a retired Marine Corps general with nearly 5 decades of military service, has served many roles, the latest Homeland Security Chief, where he has earned high marks from the president for defending and enforcing the White House immigration policy. Now, earlier in his career, Kelly served tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. His son, Robert Michael Kelly, was killed during combat in Afghanistan in 2010. President Trump and General Kelly visited his son's grave on Memorial Day earlier this year. Starting Monday, General Kelly enters a new arena, White House politics.
What I never saw on the military side was the level of toxic kind of politics that are associated with what I do now.
The question now is, can General Kelly unite the West Wing, where sharp elbows, staff infighting, and loose lips have distracted from the president's agenda?
And General Kelly is also described as fiercely loyal to his troops, to his staff. In his statement acknowledging he was chief of staff, only one sentence was actually dedicated to that. The rest was praising the staff of the Department of Homeland Security. This is something that is very important to him. He's moving to a White House where there is a lot of public rebuking, name-calling, and backstabbing. The president himself outwardly speaks illy of those staff members and people within the cabinet. And so this is something that John Kelly is either going to have to change or get used to very quickly in the White House.
Back home, PNC leader Peter O'Neill left today for Alitau, still confident of forming government. In this picture, he is with some PNC members, including Charles Abel and Justin Tichenko, and URP leader William Duma. Joining the camp also is the Gulf Regional member-elect Chris Haiveta. PNC says more members are set to join in the Alitau camp. Chukai Sports is next. I'll have the details for you after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The Port Moresby Tennis and Squash Open last night witnessed intense action as the tournament reached its quarterfinal stage. It was tough going for all of PNG's top-ranked players in both the men's and women's divisions, expected to reach the playoffs.
It was an intense battle between 4th seed Robin Morave and 5th seed Morana Way in last night's men's squash quarterfinals in the Port Moresby Tennis and Squash Open. With PNG champion Suare Madako Jr. the first to qualify for the semi-finals, it was a 6-way tussle for the remaining 3 slots. 4th seed Morave, who is taking part in the tennis events as well, had a tough assignment against Lei's Way. Both men breaking ties consecutively. The final result going the way of Morave with a 3-2 victory. In the other quarterfinal matches, Joel Smith would meet Shubath Maketu, while Angus King from Ley went up against Locus Brooksbank of Cairns. Brooksbank, who missed the cut for the PNG team in the 2015 Pacific Games, excited at being back in the country for the tournament.
Yeah, that was a bit heartbreaking. Couldn't play on home soil, but yeah, represented before in Samoa and also in the Cook Islands. So yeah, and New Caledonia. Yeah, so it's always good to play for the country and represent with Mum there by your side.
The Open serves as a selection for the Mini Pacific Games later on this year. Jeremy Moggy, National TV Sports.
The 7th Community Rugby Circuit in the autonomous region of Bougainville has grown from strength to strength every year. Bougainville Rugby Union patron Peter Chamalili says this event is an initiative of the Bougainville Rugby Union established to build strong local competition.
Through this initiative by Bougainville Rugby Union, the goal was to build their own capacity in terms of technical officials and keeping constant competition for both men and women, as well as involving school children through their kids program.
At the same token, now all working towards building that base and understanding and environment for the 2019 referendum, and it's all part of the peace agreement and peace process. So Bougainville Rugby Union have been doing this for a number of years.
Bougainville Rugby Union patron Peter Chamalili says the Rugby Sevens Festival in Arawa is unique as they are partnering with the United Nations for the first time.
Me as a Bougainville Rugby Union sports patron, just excited to have United Nations really giving some prominence to the sport, but more importantly now aligning with a sport that is aligning many youths on the island and having that collaboration from the high level of the ABG right down through our community and our chiefs in the village. And this is what we need.
The objective is to provide an avenue for the youths who are an integral part of decision-making for Bougainville's future. The two-day tournament kicked off yesterday and registered 18 teams for both men and women, 2 open divisions which include school children.
After Arawa, which is in 2 months' time, and then we're going to come down to Bowen in South Bougainville, and we'll be doing the same thing again, running the awareness, mobilizing the people and the movement on the island, and then we'll finish off in October with the Black Orchid event.
This is the third part of the tournament, and with 3 more circuits to go. The Bougainville Rugby Union Regional 7 Circuit is the replica of the World 7 Series, with each tournament running for only 2 days on the regional level.
Then, if we think that the last 15 or 12 years has been big on the island, I believe this October, come the Black Orchid tournament, the whole island is going to converge into wherever we're going to decide the tournament is going to be. And it's going to be bigger than what we've experienced in the past, because it's going to have some real purpose behind it because of what we're doing now.
Meanwhile, the tournament ended this afternoon. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands have withdrawn from the OFC Under-16 Women's Championship due to kick-off in Samoa on August 4th. Both nations' withdrawal from the tournament has left Group A with 5 teams and Group B with just 3. This has prompted the Oceania Football Confederation to revise the match schedule. A draw was conducted at the OFC Academy yesterday, which saw Tonga drawn from Group A into Group B to make 2 groups consisting of 4 teams. The competition will conclude on August 18. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. National men's AFL team, the Mosquitoes, departed for Australia today for a friendly match in Gold Coast with Nauru before heading to Melbourne on August 3rd. This is the second appearance for the PNG national women's AFL team, the Flames, at the International Cup title 2017 in Melbourne. As defending champions, PNG Mosquitoes' first match will be with Ireland, scheduled to kickstart straight after the opening ceremony on August 5th. Crusaders flew out to South Africa after watching the Hurricane dash their hopes to hosting the Super Rugby final. The defending champions blew a big lead against the Lions to lose 44-29. The slide triggered a contentious call.
The moment that helped seal the Hurricanes' Super Rugby fate.
Oh, we might see a card here.
First 5, Beauden Barrett sin-binned for the 3rd time this season, with just over 22 minutes to go in the semi-final, and the Canes leading by 7.
No, look, it's a clear line break. Unfortunately, the player is still there. He's on the wrong side. So whatever influence he has, I have to penalise him.
You know that we're not allowed to comment on referees, so I won't say anything about it, but whether it was or it wasn't, but it certainly had an impact on the game.
In the 10 minutes that Barrett was in the bin, the Lions took control, scoring 3 times to come from 7 points down and lead by 10. One of those 2 tries while Barrett was off, also contentious.
You have no side on angle.
We have no side on angle.
And from that, can you give me any compelling evidence?
There's no compelling evidence from that angle that the ball is in actual fact gone forward. Speak with your on-field decision.
The fact is, the Canes should never have lost from the big lead they built in the first half. 3 tries in the first 30 minutes to lead 22-3. But the Lions got themselves back in it with their first try right on the stroke of the break.
I think that was probably the turning point, the momentum at 22-3. I think if we had scored again next, I think that might have been a bridge too far.
The turning point it proved, the Lions scoring again on the other side of half-time and never looking back. The table toppers toppling a New Zealand team for the first time this season, now the most successful Kiwi franchise standing between the Lions and their first ever title.
In football, 2 people have been killed and several injured in a stampede at South Africa's FNB Stadium during a match between Soweto rivals Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. The stampede took place at one of the gates of the stadium that hosted the 2010 World Cup final. Its cause was being investigated. Live television coverage of the match, which the Chiefs won 1-0, had shown no obvious disturbance. Chiefs and Pirates are South Africa's best supported clubs and have a rivalry stretching back almost 50 years. Saturday's match was a traditional pre-season friendly between the 2 clubs. That ends Trukai Sports, but don't go away. The weather report is next. Stay with us for the details.
Trukai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And now looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby chance of evening brief showers, Daru, Alatau and Popondetta mostly fine, and Kerama chance of evening brief showers. In the Momase region, Lei thundery rain showers, Medang, Vanimo and Wewak some showers. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka some showers. And in the Highlands, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, evening brief showers then morning fog. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Papua New Guinea. Strong wind warning for small ships for tonight and tomorrow. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerama to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samurai Island, eastern and western Millen Bay Islands, Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, West New Britain and Bougainville, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait including CSC Island to Long Island, seas 2.5 to 3.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters of East New Britain to New Island, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas. The Coral seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. Solomon seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. Bismarck seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. And the Pacific Ocean seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that was the news, sports and weather for Sunday the 30th of July 2017. Pleasant working week. Good night.